Other than that, as said, this is a rather informal, is meant to be a rather informal meeting. This is part of the virtual coffee series that the Urban Transition Mission is hosting on the UTM Center on various topics, specifically of interest of the UTM cities. So feel free to take your camera on, feel free to interact via the chat or to interact during the conversation. We will have a setting the scene by the city of Bergen, as mentioned before, and then we delve into a discussion. We really welcome every input. There's no stupid question. There's no, and every interaction, well, it's good in that sense. The idea is really to have a conversation around the theme of climate budgeting. Around the conversation, we will unfortunately not have the input from the city of Mumbai, but we will have the pleasure to listen from Catherine Robertson on the climate budgeting program of C40 and from Carolina Meza regarding what the GAF understands so far in
Văd aqui, ele
climate
está um
budgeting.
pipi.
Oh, sorry, I will just kindly also ask you to mute yourself while we are not speaking. So before giving the floor to Are, we are a little bit over schedule. Just a few words from my side, just to set the scene on the team today. I'm definitely not the expert on climate budgeting, and this I will give the word to Are and Catherine later on for a little bit more the technical details on that. I just wanted to point you out for the sake of the discussion a little bit on what climate budgeting is and what climate budgeting is not, just so that give a little bit of a framework of an idea. And on this, I of course stole the words from C40 itself regarding climate budgeting. That's when we are talking about climate budgeting, we're talking about a governance system for a whole of government approach with the aim of delivering climate action. So when looking at the UTM framework / the GCOM journey, we are still in the planning phase, but at the very end of it, but very much focusing on the implementation phase. So the one that you see circled down there, very much at the middle of the journey. What it can do is to provide a framework for you for resourcing climate action by your own means. So from the municipality perspective, it can support you, not entirely potentially, but it can definitely support you in budgeting and prioritizing interventions for GHG reduction, and also as a framework to gather support from stakeholders and also when it comes to financial support, but also from citizens when it comes to buy-in from what is happening in terms of climate policy at the local level. On this, of course, I will give the floor later on to Are and Catherine to be very much more detailed on what all those headlines means. I just wanted to give an understanding of what is not, so what we are not talking about here. It's climate budgeting. It's connected to a number of action for mitigation adaptation, but it's not GHG inventories or GHG or carbon budgets. It's rather an attempt to link them to the financial budget of the city. Is not climate-related financial disclosure, even though, again, it may be very much connected to that, for example, to processes like a TCFD, and is not entirely a framework for that link you to already defined climate taxonomies, like, for example, the EU taxonomy. It also doesn't necessarily, that's dependent, of course, from how the climate budgeting framework is set up, but it doesn't give you necessarily the specific project investment overview, because that may be more complex than only municipal investment. And is not entirely only a citizen engagement initiative. So those are all elements that may be connected to climate budgeting in some forms, and we will see later on in the discussion how those can be connected, but they're not climate budgeting itself. Climate budgeting at the heart and in the simplest definition of it is very much about connecting the financial statement and the financial action of the municipality to climate action at the local level. said that, I will then use again this presentation with a few guiding questions for the discussion, but it's my pleasure, of course, to give the floor to who has implemented climate budgets already at the municipal level. So to Are Björnsson from the city of Bergen to give a little bit of a overview of what has happened so far and how a climate budget actually is living in Bergen. Are,
Thank you.
floor is yours.
Waiting for you to stop sharing, or
Oh, apology. Yeah, the floor is yours and you should be able to share your screen.
thank you. So are you looking at the correct part of the presentation, or?
Yes.
Thank you. So yeah, we just have a few minutes, so I'll be rather brief. First, a few vital information about Bergen. Despite the rather nice weather at the moment, we are the rainiest, wettest city in Europe, or at least we like to think so. We're at the west coast
Sorry,
of
Are,
Norway.
sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, very sorry to interrupt you. Just a quick note. We don't see your presentation full screen, but only the PowerPoint slide,
Ah.
just for your information.
You can press F5 and it will be complete presentation.
Let's see.
If you click at the bottom of the screen, you should be able to see it in presentation mode.
Yeah, does it work?
Otherwise, no. Otherwise, you let me know. I can also pull it up from my side and share the slides.
So I changed the presentation now. Does it work, or is still the same?
We still see the PowerPoint, I think, because maybe you have two screens and then we are seeing the wrong screen. If you want, I can also pull the presentation from my side, and then you can tell me to change slides. Or we can keep up, maybe. So if you just change, yeah, exactly, perfect. And we now see it full screen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. So, wet city, western coast of Norway. So, moving on. You already kind of said this, but it's a municipal management tool, and we use it in Bergen to help achieve our climate goals. One of several tools we use. So it's not not an annual report or anything like that. It's the current situation, but viewing forward, taking into account the effects of implemented and decided on climate reduction measures, both on cost and CO2. And for us, it was important to connect kind of the city budget and climate goals, and it was viewed as a good way to do that. And we started off in 2017 and been working on it ever since. We've also been developing it in cooperation with other cities in Norway, Trondheim, Stavanger, and notably Oslo as well, who started 1 year ahead of us. So the cake on the right-hand side kind of shows the important sectors of emissions from Bergen. So we implement measures where we have some power to do so, and also in mainly in areas where we are able to cut a lot. So notably road traffic, energy supply, which is basically the waste incineration plant in Bergen, and also heating and some other areas as well. We have a lot of different climate measures. The climate budget started off addressing the strategy connected to cutting of direct emissions from Bergen. But we also work heavily into circular economy and nature protection, for example. So when it comes to CO2 reductions, that's or the measurement of effect of measures, it's mainly connected to the strategy 1, to the reduction of the direct emissions from Bergen. We are not only looking at the municipal organization, we are addressing the whole geographical Bergen, the territorial Bergen. So when we're looking at only the municipal owned measures, it's easy to control, but also the effect are quite limited. So we are really looking at the whole picture, or at least especially on the territorial Bergen, and also the scope 3 emissions. While carbon budgeting typically shows your fair share of emissions moving from until 2030, our starting point was to look at the emissions we had and what typical measures it was possible to implement to cut those emissions, and see how far we could get. The climate budgeting, you are able to combine those two, so you can set up yearly limits on emissions. Yeah, on why we use climate budgeting, it's a few of those reasons I've mentioned already. We want to demonstrate the effects both on cost and on the climate, on the work we do in the municipality, and also to be able to adjust our course and ensure that we meet our climate goals. Also, the budget is not the only the tool or the management tool we use to reach our goals, but when we spend money, often we affect climate emissions as well. So either if it's an area plan where we allow people to build, or if it's our own purchases in the municipality, it all costs money, and it all heavily affects climate emissions. Implementing the climate budget as part of the city budget also made it much easier to get ownership across the organization in the municipality. And it makes it more transparent when political decisions are being made. So Jakob, he sits beside me. He's working on how to ensure that political decisions are not in contradiction to climate goals. So these all management tools are connected together. So this is kind of a picture of the simple picture of our road to climate neutrality. Historical emissions on the left, and then projected emissions on the right. So the yellow one is expected emissions if we do not do anything else on what we already have implemented of existing politics and measures. And our goal is the blue one. And we expect to be somewhere in between those lines. So the reason it's the blue line is not reaching zero is because we have some remaining emissions in 2030, even if we are succeeding with all our politics, mainly in maritime and aviation. We will have quite a few emissions left in 2030. So our kind of solution in Bergen on that is to implement carbon capture also on biogenic emissions, and basically introducing negative emissions in Bergen. This is basically the same, but it's slightly more detailed. It's still a very broad overview of expected emissions going forward in Bergen. All of those lines or all those colors represent huge packages of work. And I mentioned carbon capture and storage as part of that solution. It's not a huge part of it, but it is important. It's the pink one. So we definitely need carbon capture and storage as part of our journey towards climate neutrality, but it's not by far enough. So it constitutes of a high number of different kinds of measures. So last slide. I can't really, no, it's the second last. So I can't really go into all the details, but we have a web-based budget, and we have a web-based connection between the climate budget and the regular money budget. So you will be able to find budget posts that are linked from the climate budget to the money budget, and there's a lot of details when you click on a different one. So this slide has been stolen from Oslo, or I should say adopted, and it's basically the yearly cycle of climate budgeting, where you have governing documents that are quite vital to the work, ensuring that each municipal unit are working towards the climate goals. Then you have all the measures that every municipal unit are working on to achieve, among other, the climate goals. You have reporting and evaluation of the work being done on the effects of the work being done, among others, again, on climate emissions. Everything is kind of added up, and we are provided with the statistics from the state. We compare that with our kind of bottom-up statistics numbers, and then we are able to kind of change the course. If we're not reaching the goals, if we're failing in the area, we are able to adjust the course. In Bergen, unfortunately, we are only doing this kind of cycle once per year. It's possible to do it a lot more often, but we don't have resources to work with it as much as we would like to. But every year we are kind of reviewing the whole process, reviewing the government the documents, the measures being implemented, and the effects, and we are adjusting our course accordingly. So that's basically the budgeting process in Bergen. Thank you.
And thank you very much, Are, for this comprehensive description. That's very interesting. I will have a couple of questions from my side already, but I see that there is some action in the chat, and I wouldn't like to steal the word from the CDs. Maybe just a quick note, because I see that a lot of people have joined us in the meantime. Just a very quick reminder: feel free to be as interactive and ask as many questions as you would like. This is very much a closed group. Nothing is going to get out of this, and it's really for the entire UTM group to learn and interact among each other. So just don't be shy, of course. And maybe for this, I saw that Christina, you wrote something in the chat. I don't know if you would like to maybe take the floor and explain a little bit more what your comment was about. Christina, can you hear us?
Sure.
Yes, I can hear. 1 minute.
I was just wondering if you wanted to say something, because I saw you wrote in the chat. Maybe you will just like to express it, or I can even read it out loud as you prefer.
You can read. I just want to make a mention. It's very important to have separately line of financing support for activities that including climate change, and not only all the infrastructure component and also education component with dialogue with different type of actors in locality. It's like not stakeholders, but also young generation, old people, because we are part of this community. So we are like a public administration. We not make only police documents. Of course, we have infrastructure activity, and for this we need to make some financial planification. I hope that you understand me, and sorry for my English.
No, that's absolutely. Thanks, thanks, Christina. That's very helpful. Maybe here, and I encourage everybody, in case you have questions, to just raise your hand or put them in the chat. Maybe just to build on what you said, Christina, I would like to ask a very quick question to Yari before going to the next participants, because you show us that online interactive climate budget lines, and I was just wondering if you add few example on how that was useful for you when it comes to the implementation, and how much was useful in terms of transparency with your citizens as well, because I think there was a little bit what Christina.
One line was a line for making arrangement place for a green area in municipal Strasheni, you know. We have some money, but we not we buy, we make some I cannot explain in English, but we use some money to extend green area in our municipality and make two campaign or to clean local river. This river is a part of our ecosystem, and of course we need to be sure that all the green area, all the water source, okay, and we make sustainability for them. And also we have infrastructure project for water and sanitation, because if we have a pollution, of course we have problem with climate, with water, and people don't want to live in a community where it's not water, is not a good sanitation condition, and where is very hot, because now in the summertime we feel very more this climate change, and for elderly people and for person with disability they feel, and in this period we try to have safety for them, and we want to make more green area and park in our municipality, and for us we have separately line for this some infrastructure project.
Okay, that's absolutely interesting. And maybe I don't know if other cities also call have some experience like that they would like to put in the chat. But in the meantime, maybe I will just get back to Ari for the question. You have a little bit more information on that. I see that also Christine, that also Catherine had some question on that side. But yeah, Ari, maybe if you want to say something.
Yeah, so our climate budget is part of the public city budget, and that's public and available online. So I can provide the link to that afterwards. I can copy it into the chat. Obviously, it will be of limited interest since it is in Norwegian, but at least Catherine will be able to fully understand it, of course. On one of the advantages of using an online tool and connecting the climate budget to the city budget is While we don't have as a rigorous reporting system as Oslo, the reporting of budget lines in a regular budget will also follow on to the climate budget in where lines or projects are linked. So when project owner reports on their their project through the system and follow up of the budget, it will also be visible through the climate budget. It's not summarized, so it's still I guess still kind of early days on following the progress of the climate budget. But it's a start, and it's a possibility to connect the two budgets and reporting further. Mark also had a question on how to account for missions which are not funded by the city, and the to account for the missions in a sort of, or including the emissions, in my view, is not the difficult part, because we can still calculate the emission reductions from various measures, even though we are not financing them. It's maybe easier if I explain it with an example. So there's a company who's running the district heating system in Bergen, and they use oil, not all the time, but for some peaks where they are not being provided with enough heat from the waste incineration, they use oil. And also when they have to close down the system and start up again, they also use oil. So previously they used fossil oil. And then based on a decision in the city council, even though the city council didn't have a direct say in what that company did, they kind of took heed and decided to use biofuel instead. So measuring the effect or calculating the effect of changing from fossil oil to bio oil is very simple math. It's really simple to do, but we don't include the cost since the costs belong to someone else. And that's kind of one of the limitations of the climate budget, as it's used in Bergen at least, is that we only implement the municipal costs, not the whole societal costs. At the same time, we do look at the societal emissions. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe just because it was a question by Mark, I don't know, Mark, if you would like to add something on that. And then I saw that there is a lot of activity in the chat, but maybe I will stop a moment and get back to that later on, because we still have 2 presentations to go. But yeah, maybe Mark, did you have any follow-up question, like a quick one?
No, I think Ari's covered it. It's fine. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Thanks a lot. So maybe and thanks again, Are, for the presentation. I think we will still have a few questions if you can stay on the line that we may be able to answer in a bit. But before that, just to give a little bit of more of a plurality of voice on who else has also done climate budgeting and how this is implemented a little bit around the world. There's of course no better example than to give the floor to the head of climate budgeting at C40 Cities, Katrin Robertson, who is working on the topic quite extensively with a number of cities in the network. So Katrin, if you want to say a few words from your side, feel free to pull up your slides and yeah, take the floor.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me, and I hope that you can see my presentation full screen and also hear me well.
Yes, we can do it. Yeah.
Fantastic. So my name is Katrin Robertson. I'm C40's head of climate budgeting, and I previously worked with the city of Oslo, and I've worked closely with Bergen as well, where we've been comparing notes over the course of the years on climate budgeting. So really nice to see old colleagues from my past. Anyways, I was seconded to C40 from the city of Oslo to introduce climate budgeting to cities worldwide to see and test whether this is an approach that can be applied across regions globally. It was something that was developed by the city of Oslo first, and now we see alongside Bergen and Trondheim, a lot of other small municipalities as well in Norway are applying climate budgeting. But we were really keen to see whether this global north approach to governance could be applied other places as well. So we initiated a pilot from 2021 to 2022 across 13 cities that you can see on this map. Really a good global spread. We wanted to facilitate knowledge sharing and provide guidance to cities to advance them on climate budgeting. And we took this learning by doing approach so that it's first when you start working on the climate budget that you really understand what this means. And our deliverables were knowledge products and also research to further advance this. You can read about our program. We will share the slides after, and you can read more about our program. So together with these 13 cities, we came to a common definition of what climate budgeting is. And I think it's really important to say that, because when we speak about climate budgeting publicly, there's often confusion or misconceptions of what climate budgeting is. So I just wanted to clarify that when I speak about climate budgeting, our definition is that it's a governance system that mainstreams climate commitments and considerations into decision-making on policies, actions, and budget, integrating the targets that you do have from your climate action plan into the financial budget process. And through that, it assigns responsibility for implementation, monitoring, evaluation, reporting across city government. So similarly to what Are just presented. We're seeing results already from the work that we've done, and I wanted to share with you that you can access through this slide examples of cities that are applying it to their context. Oslo has been working on annual climate budgets since 2017. London actually published their first in 2022. They've already launched their second and are working on the third. And then recently, in the past few months, we've seen examples from New York and Mumbai. Mumbai was the last city to publish their climate budget only last week. So it's really great to see how cities are advancing this, integrating it into their budget structures and processes, and also how they're applying it in different ways, not only focusing on greenhouse gas emission reductions, but also including adaptation and applying this equity and inclusivity lens to their climate budgeting efforts. So I would encourage you to have a look at these examples. We have also developed a few knowledge resources that I think could be valuable for you. Based on the learnings from the cities that we have in our program, we've developed a step-by-step guide to climate budgeting. And we also have a handbook on how to do greenhouse gas quantification or build that climate budgeting analysis that really shows you that beautiful graph of how far we've gotten with the actions that we have included in our budget and potential gaps towards the targets that we have set. We also have a lot of resources available on our C40 Knowledge Hub, so feel free to visit that page if you want to know more about what climate budgeting is or how to redesign your budget process and also the key documents in order to get started. I also want to mention that on Monday, we have a global event on climate budgeting, featuring keynotes from the governing mayor of Oslo and also the CFO of London, where you will hear more about the political and leadership considerations that are needed for climate budgeting. We will also, on the 27th of June, on 2 different time slots, have a more technical and practical session with cities on how to get started, following the step-by-step guide and also providing more city examples. So I will drop the registration link to the first webinar in the chat. Feel free to share with your colleagues, city colleagues, and we hope to see you on the webinar on Monday. Thank you so much.
And thank you very much, Catherine, and also for the link to the webinar. If you would like to send it to me as well, I'm more than happy to circulate to colleagues in UTM. More than happy to see that there are some UTM cities among the ones that you show that are working on climate budgeting with you, Rio and Mumbai. Among those, I was just looking at the list of people that are now in the chat in the meeting here. I don't see them. Probably they just know enough about climate budgeting by now. They didn't want to show up. But yeah, we have also examples from the group in case you would like to learn firsthand from various locations. We have Bergen from Europe, Rio, which is working on that from Latin America, and Mumbai from Southeast Asia. So a good spread in that sense. Maybe I see that Ellie, you have an hand raised. Probably there's a question, so maybe I don't know if you want to ask something to Catherine.
Yes, thank you very much for the two nice presentations. Catherine, could you share a little bit what the main challenges were, or if there were some if you saw some special characteristics in some of the cities in Europe compared to other cities in climate budgeting? Are there some learnings that you could share?
Absolutely. I think our experience with working across these 13 cities is that the challenges are quite similar. We were expecting them to be a lot more diverse, and also a reflection from my side is that they are quite similar to the challenges that we've seen in Norway or in Oslo as well. And I'm sure that Are will agree with me that in order for you to start doing climate budgeting, you need that strong political support, and you need a ownership by the CFO or the finance department. So that is a crucial first step. The second is that you need to start engaging across departments. Climate budgeting is all about breaking down those silos. Climate action has far too long been the sole responsibility of the climate or environment department. So really breaking that down, integrating it, or piggybacking, if you can say, on the financial process and the templates. If you manage to integrate it, it's much easier to give that steer or that instruction. But when it comes to the challenges, I feel like the cities are reporting back that the lack of commitment or the lack of political will to do this could be a key barrier. So find good strategies to get that support and commitment first. The second is more on capacity. Do we have the capacity to take this on and roll this out? So I think creating a plan and strategy that sort of shifts the way that you work rather than having it feel like something that's an add-on. Really saying that, okay, we have these resources, how can we start working in a different way? This is all about change management. And then I think the last thing that we saw that was somewhat a challenge, but also an opportunity is that we always want to do things so quickly, but actually climate budgeting takes time. And I'm keen to hear Are also reflect on this, that it's not a quick fix. It's not it's something that you have to do every year and improve. Are mentioned that they started off with what they could control, their direct emissions, but they're now expanding because they have so many years of working on this. And you will see that through that engagement internally, you will figure out how this can be adopted and applied in your city. So I think there have been challenges, but also opportunities. And you will see a few the reports on our webpage actually outlines that and gives some key strategies for cities to overcome them. So I'll also post the link to our webpage in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you very much. And maybe just mindful of time before getting back to the other questions and interactions that are in the chat. I will just close this journey from the city of Bergen to a little bit what's happening in the climate budgeting arena, a little bit more on international level, to how to potentially fund climate action and climate budgeting, if that's the case, especially if you are a city from the global south. And for this, I would like to invite Carolina Mesa from the GCOM support team to the GAF funds to say a few words on what are the example and how you are the GAF fund is supporting cities in that sense.
Yes, thank you, Nicola, and thanks for this invitation. And I see a lot of participants, comments. That's really great. I will be conscious about the time. So I will like to first, before entering to the examples about climate budgeting, I would like to explain a little bit what is the City Climate Finance GAT Fund. So we are part of the GCOM, Global Covenant of Mayors, and GCOM partnered with GAT Fund in order to raise awareness. What is this GAT Fund? To explain to the cities. So GAT Fund was established in September 2020 in order to assist cities in developing and emerging countries in achieving their climate goals. So we are supporting cities, pretty much the Caribbean, Latin America, North Africa, Sub-Saharan African cities, also Southeast Asia, and in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, in the critical early project preparation. So the GCOM GAT Fund partnership is implemented by the World Bank, European Investment Bank, together with different partners like C40, GCOM, ECLAI, CCFLA, and thanks to the donors from the government of Germany and Luxembourg. At the beginning in the introduction of the virtual coffee, Nicola shared with you this journey that pretty much all the cities are doing right now, are walking to the journey. And Madame Ili, if I'm not mistaken, asked, okay, what are the challenges that the city is facing? And somehow through this journey, some of the cities are, let's say, doing the climate action plan or the CCAPs. Some of them already completed this planning phase. The climate action plans usually they have ideas, but they are missing what we call bankable or financeable projects. So there is a gap from the planning towards the implementation. So, and this is where GAT Fund fits within the ecosystem of this project preparation journey that pretty much the cities are trying to understand. So we have the climate strategy and the concept design and the pre-feasibility. So GAT Fund can support the cities towards this early stage of the project preparation. And as I mentioned, we are supporting cities in pretty much in the global south, but also through a broad eligible sector like urban mobility, energy efficiency, adaptations, and so on. And just to give some of examples, what we think and when we talk about the climate budgeting. So we have one example in Ethiopia, this Adaba, the city, where we are supporting the city integrating the climate focus, the climate perspective into the urban development planning. So even if your city already has any strategy, any planning, so the idea is to how to turn this into the focus of the climate perspective. So this we were supporting Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. And also another important thing that we deliver to the cities, a tool, I can say that, a tool to rank the projects according how these ideas or this project, the potential to contribute to adaptation or mitigations. And also this was let's say connected with the one graph that the city of Bergen was showing about the climate neutrality graph. So even if the city has the mission or the goal, let's say the climate goal to achieve neutrality of 2030 or even 2050, because 2030 could be really ambitious to get neutrality, to reach neutrality even in buildings or in any sector that we are talking. The idea is how to break this goal into different steps, into different yearly steps or yearly goals, and connect this. Okay, we want to achieve net carbon or neutrality up to 2050. Okay, this year what we are going to do, next year what we are going to do, and link this with the activities and also with the budget. So, and this is quite important to really understand. And also considering one important aspect that Madame Catherine from C40 has and mentioned that you are supporting the cities, is quite important this strategic stakeholder engagement. So not only the environment department is connected with all how this environment department or how it's called it in the city is connected with the others, how this integrated approach on this governance structure. See, this is really, really, really key. And another example, just to finalize my speech, and not only the mitigation perspective, is in Kinshasa, Congo, the identification of the potential of using nature-based solutions. So it's similar approach what I explained in Ethiopia, but with these nature-based locations in the city. So really selecting the areas, integrating this perspective from the planning side and also from the design side and the governance structure as well. I will stop here. Of course, I will be available if you have more questions, and I would like to share some links in the chat over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Carolina. That's also very, very useful and important, of course, especially for cities from DAC recipient countries, which is where the GAP Fund is active, and I see several looking at the participants here. If you have not yet received support by the GAP Fund, and you, thanks to the example from Bergen, another you think that the climate budgeting may be a thing for you, of course, feel free to address the finance and funding help desk of UTM, so myself in this case, a self-spot, for having a little bit more of information on how to potentially access technical assistance from GAP Fund. And thanks also for the resources in the chat. So maybe having said that, I see that we have only 5 minutes left for the call. It's been very intense. There's a lot of activities in the chat. And thanks a lot for all the contributions so far. I was just maybe looking at the comments in the chat, and I see that something has remained unanswered. So I was just getting back to that. I think it was a question from Mar Vives. Apologies, I'm not pronouncing it correctly. I don't know if you are still here and you would like to maybe ask the question directly.
Well, I think that Ori has answered my question, and he just said that it might be too long, so he suggested like a separate call on this topic.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Thanks.
And of course, yeah, hopefully there's also a good way to connect among UTM cities. More than happy to see this coming forward. Then maybe just an open question to everyone, if there is any other questions to either GAP Fund, C40, or the city of Bergen regarding what you have seen so far on climate budgeting. Just feel free to raise your virtual hand or to write in the chat if you like, of course. If not, maybe I would just ask quickly, we have only 3 minutes, maybe just one last comment from each three of the presenter on what you have seen so far, maybe starting from Are, in terms of what would be potentially a suggestion that you would like to tell to a city that is potentially willing to start the climate budgeting process. I don't know if you have any tip or any information that might be of interest. Yeah, similar question also to you, Katrin and Carolina, of course, with a different angle, rather from a program perspective in that sense. But maybe Are, I don't know if you have any suggestion on that or anything else that you would like to add, looking at what the other cities have discussed.
Yeah, thank you, Nicola. I think the topic was a good one. Climate budgeting is a system that can be implemented in any city, I think, and it's also very good that you invited Katrin. C40 has a lot of resources that are readily available to all partners, and as a UTM partner, Bergen is ready to assist and chat with and help in any way we can to other UTM cities. So it's unlike some of the other topics we are discussing, where we're going into single measures. It's management systems that really can help us reach the overall climate goals. So really good topic, and thank you. And I'll be following up with Malvives on the carbon capture part and how the city of Bergen are trying to implement that. Thank you.
Thank you, Are. Catherine, you want to add something?
I just want to echo what Ada just said. I think that climate budgeting is something that can be applied in any city, independent of the size or the history in the city. I think that one top tip I would give is to make sure that you assemble a good case and that you present it to your key decision makers or the politicians, and that you get a clear mandate to set this cross-departmental team to roll this out in your city. And do make use of those existing processes that you have ongoing, because it's easier than both to get it implemented, but also to ensure that it's something that sticks with the city and it's not just a technical exercise that you do one time. So best of luck to you.
Thank you, Karin. And Carolina, maybe do you want to add something from CAFON perspective?
Yes, thank you so much. And yes, exactly what is key, and we have seen with the examples that we are supporting is governance and coordination within the city is quite important. And the second method, like for all the cities, if you would like to know more about the GATFAN and how also we can support the cities towards the climate action strategy and the climate budgeting, we are here after we can set bilateral call with the cities. Also, you can reach Nicola or myself to really understand how we can support towards this. And thank you.
And thank you very much. So I think we are perfectly on time, even though we started a little bit late. We managed to catch up a little bit with the timing, which is great. So thanks a lot again to the three presenter. I hope this was helpful for all of you that have attended. I think it was a very interesting topic and very interesting, well, both from the program perspective, but from also a special shout out for the city of Bergen, which is doing this process very extensively. Maybe just a very quick, I just wanted to very quickly give the floor to Ellie. I don't know if you have anything you would like to add from the UTMC perspective, or in terms of upcoming virtual coffees in the series.
Thank you, Nicola. I just wanted to highlight that while the presenters were presenting, I had a look at the participants, and we have participants really from all over the world in this small virtual coffee. So from the US to Mongolia, over Georgia and Lebanon. So thank you very much for your interest, and please stay connected in the platform. We have planned monthly virtual coffees. So over the summer we will have a summer break, but in September we're again planning several online events. So please be connected in the platform and use it for connecting to your colleagues and in your cities also as well. And we have a newsletter. Please, if you did not yet register, the newsletter is coming into your inbox and showing all the activities that we are planning and that they're upcoming. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ellie. And maybe with this, I will just close the meeting, and thanks again for the participation to everyone. Have a nice continuation of your day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you, Nicola, for the organization. Thank you for the
Thank you.
presenters. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.